Hey guys, Yoda here, and this video is going to be about the Theater of Pain, one of the new dungeons in the Shadowlands. I'm going to be going through a VOD from the KSM Beta Bash tournament, where we won, and this is our Theater of Pain run. We're going to start off with a Shroud here. This pack is not really too dangerous, but you do have to use some cooldowns on it, and we'd rather use our cooldowns on the boss, so we just Shroud past. We do have to distract here, this guy has the detection. We get to the boss, and this Destiny the Decapitator is always the target. There's 3 of them. The rest of these just kind of cast bolts. Zathel does have a couple dangerous casts, but you can get around them with kicks and purges. So it's not a priority to focus down. We want to kill this. While this is alive, you're basically on a clock. Like, you have to kill this before it kills your tank. It has a huge tank hit, slam, and it also has Mortal Strike, which reduces the healing. This Passarin, while casting bolts, it also jumps out. You want to have 2 range kicks or 1 shaman. Save their kick for when it jumps out, so you kick it and it just comes right back in. So they stay stacked for cleave. Throughout the fight, there's this one rogue. No one knows exactly how often it happens. It's always random. It changes every fight. But basically, it'll stun someone and do a lot of damage to them. You have to stop this immediately as soon as you can with either CC, like Freezing Trap, or a stun, or an incap, whatever. Stop it. You'll notice, actually, while we were paying attention to that, this boss hit 40%. So once they hit 40%, they do something cool. You see this? He has an enrage. Once he's enraged, he will focus down like a DPS, like he'll fixate them and start chasing them. Anyone that comes in range of him will also get hit by his tank hits as a non-tank, so they'll die. However, if you have Soothes in your group from like a rogue, a hunter, or a druid, you can just immediately soothe it off and he just acts like he didn't have it. Yeah. Goes back to the tank, make sure you focus him down. The Searing Death, you can see, it just went off on the mage. He is going to lose health. It is healable, but ideally you stop them as much as you can. He also, Zathel, this little buff here is also from Zathel. It heals the target. You want to just purge it as soon as you can. Most groups will have a purge. Here we get second visit from the rogue. I think we get 3 this run, so yeah, pretty unlucky. Saren jumps out. That one was my kick. Once you finish the tank cluster, you fight 2 casters. At the beginning of beta, we were focusing down Zathel because you can't kick him while he has this shield. However, we found later that focusing Passarin is actually the better option because this shield will time out. So basically you can DPS one of them while the other one's shield is like quote-unquote getting DPS by his shield timing out, so you get time save there. You end up focusing down Passarin. The other thing is, Passarin likes to jump out, so when you're fighting like adds +1 guy, ideally the boss isn't the one jumping out. Yeah, we focus down Passarin. He also drops these poison on the ground, but there's plenty of room in the arena. It's usually not a big deal. We kill Passarin. Then once it's just Zathel, we pull in trash. Now keep in mind it is bolstering here, so we want to work down the Bloodhorn a little bit before we pull the rest of the pack. So for this pack, we have the Bloodhorn is the main dangerous mob. It casts Raging Tantrum, which does a lot of damage. If you don't have a Soothe, this will probably be very, very hard, but most gears will have a Soothe. If you don't have a Soothe, you just have to commit like healing cooldowns, immunities, personals, that kind of thing. If you do, you just soothe them. This Ritualist has a few casts. Unholy Fervor just buffs one of the mobs, and it also has Necrotic Bolt. Does a little bit of damage, but not the biggest deal. And these Contenders, you can pretty much just ignore. They slow random people, and they also hit the tank, but it doesn't really hurt that much. And then they also get this Rage, Death Wish. This is a bait. Do not worry about the Rage on these guys. You want to save all of your Soothes for the Bloodhorn. This Rage like pretty much just doesn't do anything. I think it actually makes them take more damage and do more damage, but you just ignore it. Focus on the Rage from the Bloodhorn. Every time you cast Raging Tantrum, it's a Soothe. And then you can see like 1 tick already hit us for this much, and he ticks like 4 to 5 times if you don't soothe it. So really make sure you soothe that. It is bolstering, so we don't want it all to die at the same time. The boss first. One thing to note is that once the boss dies, you have some RP. Normally you'll just be sitting here waiting, but obviously we pulled trash in, so we're finishing it off. But if the trash is still alive 10 seconds later, then you'll be like getting hit by trash during this while you're like stunned and getting RP'd on. So that's really bad. Make sure there's no trash alive at this point. After this we get sucked down, we go to the Gladiator area. Boss is Zab the Unfallen. So here we have 4 mobs. The Arbalist, 2 conscripts, and the big guy. So each of these big guys does something different. But all of them just really hit the tank. They usually have like a spin, and they all just have like a little bit of damage to the group. Pretty much the same theme for all of them. These conscripts pretty much just hit the tank. If your tank is strong, you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, they will like eventually kill him if he doesn't use cooldowns. This Arbalist is usually extremely dangerous. It shoots random people, and it also has this ability, Jagged Quarrel, which applies a nasty bleed. And it's casted every 6 seconds. Super dangerous. Obviously, this guy, he has the Whirlwind, which we saw, just don't stand in it. Interrupting Roar. Don't be casting at the end, because, you know, it interrupts you. And it also does a decent amount of damage. Then this blade he throws in the ground that spins around. Just don't stand in it. Most of those guys are like, they look big and stupid, and they are also big and stupid. For this pack, you can see us single targeting this guy down while the rogue like does some cleave. That's because it's bolstering. Usually you will focus down the archer, and then you'll focus down the big guy. But since it's bolstering, we kill it all at the same time. And we like take special care to single target the big guy down so that he doesn't die, like so that the rest of the stuff doesn't die too quick. You'll also notice that our rogue went to pick up a flag. This flag gives us the Theater of Pain buff, 10% verse, 10% move speed, really good. Next to these is another one of those big stupid guys. I think this one has 3 casts. One is Battle Trance, just kick it. If it goes off, it'll heal and get a shield, just kick it. Very easy, only one thing to kick. Ricocheting Blade does a small AoE around people, so just don't be stacked, and it also puts a bleed on them, which does decent damage, especially in high fortified, so try and save your like dwarfs or Kyrian potions for this. And it also has a charge. Just don't be standing like in the middle of nowhere like that guy, so it doesn't charge out. That's it, pretty much. This Ricocheting Blade actually does hurt a lot, like on high fortified, so make sure you're ready for it. But it is also the only damage happening at the time, so there's that. Alright, next we do Pride. This Pride spawns right before like this pack, which is probably the hardest pack in Theater of Pain. Let's talk about this pack real quick while I'm going to wait for a frame where the nameplates aren't so stacked. Okay. So you see this captain, basically he gives all of the things around him damage and also reduces the AoE damage to them. He is the first priority to kill. Second priority is the Arbalists, because like I said before, they're super dangerous. They shoot random people and they also apply the nasty bleed, and there's 2 of them. Usually what you're going to do is you're going to kill this Pride, then CC the captain so you don't actually have to focus him down, and then run up these stairs after tagging the pack so the archers run up and you kill the archers. However, this is a speedrun setting and it's tyrannical, so what we actually do is we pull the Pride into this with all cooldowns. Notice we have Priest cooldowns, Mage cooldowns, and my cooldowns. We have me kill the captain first so the Mage can do his AoE combustion, and then the Mage combusts and the pack just dies. It is really important to kill the captain first. He also casts Demoralizing Shout, but you know, you have 4 kicks, just someone kick it and you're fine. Normally this pull would be like impossible, but it is a low tyrannical key and we have all cooldown. Keep that in mind. Usually you would kill, like I said earlier, you would kill the Pride, CC the captain, then run up the stairs with 4 mobs. Alright, so we finish off this pack. We get to the next big dumb stupid guy. He has a spin, just don't stand in it. Swift Strikes makes him hit everyone around him for some damage. Basically just heal through it. Then he also has a move called Unbalancing Blow that hits the tank. There is some RNG in this dungeon. Sometimes you get this one, sometimes you get another one. Like there's 2 of them dueling, and the one that wins the duel is the one you fight. But usually they do pretty much the same thing. Like they will hit your tank hard, they'll do a spin, and they'll throw something at your group. This may be confusing to most people because this will almost never come up on live, but basically we're playing Alliance, so we have Shadow Meld. Then once the Pride spawns, it automatically puts everyone in combat, but if you all meld afterward and you're far away from the Pride, then it'll just walk away. not fight you. And it's a little bit better to fight the Pride than to not fight the Pride than to fight the Pride missions. So we get to this boss. This boss has 4 moves. One is Brutal Combo, which you just saw. It just hits the tank. Make sure you have a cooldown. It also spawns these banners. These banners basically apply a stacking slow. We just killed it, so we just lost the slow. We'll go back and see it again. So we get the slow stacking. After this, really important to kill this banner because after the banner dies, he does Might of Maldraxxus. So he always starts by jumping in the middle and doing group damage. This damage is like kind of irrelevant as long as you don't get hit by the next stuff, because this is the only damage that everyone has to take. So as long as you like heal slowly, you'll be fine. So this Might of Maldraxxus, he jumps and then he does 3 moves in a random order. One is Crushing Slam, it's just frontal, don't stand in it. Massive Cleave covers half the room, stand in it. Then Deafening Crash hits the middle, don't stand in it as well. Also, this does have the interrupt mechanic, so don't be casting at the end of this. After that, he does the last mechanic, which is Blood and Glory. He picks 2 DPS and then throws them down. And then you basically just duke it out, and then the winner gets a buff, the loser gets a debuff, and the buff gives you damage, the debuff makes you lose damage. Since we're in a competitive setting, instead of actually duking it out, we're just gonna I'm just gonna let him win. It's usually better to do this so you don't both like waste time down there and use cooldowns, but you know how bugs are gonna go. Also, you'll notice that this debuff, particularly for Hunter and other 1-minute classes, if you pop your first cooldowns on the banner, this debuff will run out right when your next cooldowns will come up. So always save your cooldowns for the first banner, and then you have them for second banner, and also the debuff just fell off. Okay, you see I have cooldowns for the banner again. Even though I got sent down, I'm still like popping the meter, and also I conceded the duel pretty much. So really good, really important to just save your cooldowns. Might of Maldraxxus again. He does the cleave first this time, and then the slam. Again, I said this is random, so one of these 3 every time. Alright, so that's that boss. Pretty simple. Next, we head to the Abomination Wing. So there's 4 mobs in here that you'll see for the whole wing pretty much. So there's this Diseased Horror. He casts Meat Shield and he does a tank hit. This Sludge Spewer has 1 cast that doesn't matter, it's called Decaying Filth, and another cast that's super important to stop called Withering Discharge. It is a melee kick, so you just assign 1 melee to this, assign 1 melee to this, or like your tank can be one of the melee too. Then these Disgusting Refuses just jump around and hit people. When they die, they spawn little swirlies. Don't stand in them. Then this Butcher will chop random people near him, which applies a debuff. Kind of hurts on high fort, but not the biggest deal. That will recast, so don't bother trying to stop it. Then also Devouring Flesh, which heals him for a lot and hits the tank. You do want to stop that one because it will not recast, and obviously you don't want him to. So here we go. We go into the pack. This guy hits the tank. Decaying Filth, obviously we're ignoring. And the Withering Discharge, we assign a kick to each one. And we also stun on the Devour Flesh. This Meat Shield I kick. Obviously I was a little bit slow and you got a little bit of shield, but yeah, ideally you kick that instantly. You can see that since we have range characters, this guy got his 2nd Withering Filth cast before our kicks came up. Ideally you just assign a melee to it, but you can't always do that. If you don't have a melee kick, you can also stop it with like knocks or stuns or incaps, whatever. Usually you have to use that to cover if you're playing a range. Or you can just have your rogue do it, because rogues can stop like 4 mobs at once. To finish that off, then there's more of the same here. There is another banner. Obviously just 1 kick each here and stop the Devour Flesh. You'll notice that the mage used cooldowns on the pack before, and I use cooldowns on this. For low tyrannical keys, if you're playing Hunter Mage, then usually you want to stagger your cooldowns so you don't overkill a pack. We walk past this gas bag. This guy is really annoying. Don't want to fight him. There's one you can't avoid later, so we'll see what he actually does. We walk past, we get to this pack. More of the same. 1 Sludge Spewer, 1 Horror, 2 Refuses, and 1 Butcher. You guys already know what they do. It's just 1 kick on the Spewer, 1 kick on Meat Shield, and then we stop the Devoured Flesh. I believe this spawns Pride. We didn't kick the meat shield, unfortunately, so this guy heals a lot. Make sure you kick those instantly. Here we spawn the Pride. Usually what you're going to do in a live key is you're going to kill the Pride and then go with the bridge. Or if you're feeling really safe, you kill the Pride, then you use the Pride to kill the gas bag, then you kill the bridge. We're just going to do it all at once because it's a speed run. There's the Pride. This gas bag we haven't gone over yet, so I'll go over it soon. Alright, so we hit the Pride a little bit. We get to the bridge. When you hit this bridge, like I said before, a bunch of smallies come out of these walls. There's only one sludge spear you have to watch out for, so make sure you find him and focus him. Don't let Withering Discharge go off. There's no other kicks here. Then this gas bag, basically what he does ticking damage to your whole group, and then he also has what we call the frontal bactyl. You'll see it in a sec. This vile eruption. If you're fighting on this bridge, it's actually kind of dangerous because you have to dodge this eruption and also all the smallies dying. But basically, this hits the front of him and the back of him. You want to stand on the side over here. So it's that, and then there's ticking damage, and then obviously just off the spear. We finish that off. These two guys, you can. It's usually like not efficient to play a 2-pack. You can't really pull it with the bridge, and it's bolstering, so we couldn't pull it with boss, so we just skip it. If it's not bolstering, pulling with this is with the boss with cooldowns is usually fine, but most people just skip it. Alright, so we get to this boss. So he has basically, I'm gonna call it 2 mechanics. He has one where he just hits the tank. It's called Hateful Strike. Kind of hurts a lot. Get in a sec. Our tank has cooldowns running. Bang, Hateful Strike. It's only a level 13, and he had meta running, so it doesn't hurt that much. But if you have nothing, that will like kind of kill you. So this is the wombo combo here. He drops the wall. There's 2 safe spots in this wall. He spawns ads that do like random damage, and also he's about to suck us in. You can see it. He sucks us in, and then he does the smash. So you have to first you let him suck you in, then you dodge the smash, and then you find the safe spot. So he sucked me. I dodge the smash. I find the safe spot. These chain wall will always have a safe spot, and then the safe spot is always covered by the second wave. So you dodge the first one, and then you go in. Dodge the second one. When these ads die, they spawn some pools, but the pools go away pretty quickly now, like late in the beta. So you don't have to worry about it covering the whole room, just don't stand in the pool. Yeah, we'll see one more wombo combo, then I'll fast forward through. If you're standing in melee, he doesn't suck you in. So if you know this is coming, just stand in melee so you don't get the suck, and then dodge the smash. Then we see this wall. I'm gonna position here, dodge the first wave, dodge the second wave. You do want to point your camera like towards the wall so you can easily see where it's going. That's pretty much all there is to this boss, so we'll skip the rest. If you do end up getting hit by the wall, by the way, it's like a stun until it drags you all the way to the wall, and then it puts a bleed on you. Make sure you don't get hit. It's really bad. Alright, so now that boss is dead, we take the hooks up, and then we're going to the last section, which is Kulturok section. So we get here. So this bridge, a lot of people make the mistake here of trying to like fight on the bridge or cross the bridge while these souls are active. This is super dangerous. As you can see on the bridge, you're getting bombarded by these circles, and then these souls also slow you, and they do a lot of group damage. So you really don't want to fight these on the bridge. And also, ideally, you don't cross the bridge with them there, but sometimes you do it for time. Here they trickle in. These guys are really dangerous. They have Soul Touch, which hits a random person for some damage, and also Bind Soul. It is kickable, but obviously there's like 10 of them, so you're not going to be able to kick them all. It just hits someone for a lot of damage and slows them. AoE stuns or AoE silences are really strong here. Also worth noting is that these guys do all of the on-death effects like bolstering and bursting, sanguine, that kind of thing, so that can get really annoying too. The strategy that I recommend and most people do is just you have your tank go on the bridge, pull half of them back, and then fight in that corridor like we just did. The second half, after you've crossed this dangerous part of the bridge, you pull it through, and then you fight in here. So we pull these through, and we fight in here. Also, you notice the Fire Mage uses cooldowns on the first one, and I use my cooldowns here. Again, you don't want to overlap cooldowns, especially with mobs with like low health like this. Finish it off, and then we go to the portal. This guy is pretty fat. He does put out a curse, you can see on the mage. This amplifies the damage you take. Obviously, if you have a decurse, just decurse it. He does do pretty significant group damage, so you don't want to be taking that without a curse, or with the curse like active. So he decurses it. Now he casts Soulstorm. This is the thing that hits your whole group. Now note that this is a 13 tyrannical. This is like a pretty low key. We're getting like owned by this thing. If this was like a high fort, you would certainly die if you didn't heal yourself. And this is just one mob too. So once he dies, he drops this ball. You can put the ball in either one of these, and we chose right, and you'll see why in a sec. This pack is Bone Maguses. So Bone Maguses are super value to fight. You notice like the guy before us had 250k health. These guys have 90k max health, but they come with a shield. So all you have to do is purge the shield, and basically they're just like free count. They have 2 casts, Bone Spear and Grave Spike. This Grave Spike cast doesn't do a single thing. Just let it go off every time. Never waste kicks on this. And they also cast Bone Spear. I'll go back in a sec. This Bone Spear is on a high fort, it will one-shot. Low tyrannical, it doesn't actually kill us, but make sure that doesn't go off. Kick Bone Spear. Don't kick Grave Spike. We kill his Pride. Then we get to this pack. This pack is one of the most dangerous packs in the dungeon. So it has the Portal Guardian, which we've already seen. You know, it does big group damage. It applies the curse. Bone Magus, you know, it's just one kick and a purge. And this Soulbinder is super annoying for healers. So you'll notice he has this ability where he puts out a debuff. This ability has a 4-second cooldown, but your Dispel has an 8-second cooldown. So unless you have some cheese like Cloak, Mass Dispel, that kind of thing, you're going to be eating this debuff, and it hurts a lot. On top of that, he also casts Necrotic Bolt and Necrotic Bolt Volley. Necrotic Bolt is not the biggest deal to kick, but it still does do damage. Bolt Volley you have to kick or it's an instant wipe. It's usually a good idea to put a big stun on this guy so he doesn't put out so many debuffs. Also, like, less Necrotic Bolts going off, less chance someone dies. Yeah, you notice we commit cooldowns here and we also do big stuns. One of the more dangerous packs. And the Portal Guardian dies, we get a ball. Put it, this time we go left. If you go left, you end up fighting these Dark Speakers. So they have 3 casts. One is Death Winds, you can see this. It points at a person, and then it just blows the wind eventually. And then if it hits you, it's probably going to be lethal damage depending on your key level. But if it didn't kill you with the damage, it also like knocks you off the platform, so obviously just don't get hit. And then also it puts this curse on you, which makes you drop little swirlies on the ground. Like every now and then. Just decurse it, or if you don't have a decurse, then you just have to not stand in the circles. Circles like fear you for a half second, I think. And it also does Spirit Frost. That's just tank damage. There's nothing else to kick. Just kick it. After that, normally I recommend not fighting this pack because again it has this Soulbinder, super dangerous, and the Shackled Souls are also dangerous. But in a speedrun setting on Tyrannical, this is fine for us to fight. Not the biggest deal. We kill it and we go on to the next pack. This one is not as dangerous as the pack with the Portal Guardian because this Dark Speaker is way easier than a Portal Guardian, but still, you know, kind of dangerous. We stun the Soulbinder here, I think. Yeah, we stun the Soulbinder with 1 debuff out. Our healer is able to dispel. Not the end of the world to fight this guy when you have dispels and stuns. But if you don't stun him, he lives a long time, the debuffs will go out of control and your healer will be very unhappy. But yeah, you know what these mobs do. We kill them, we kill the Pride, and then we go to the Cult of Rock boss. This guy used to be super dangerous, but now that we've kind of figured him out, not as hard. He has 2 really dangerous abilities. One is the Phantasmal Parasite. This puts a debuff on 2 people, and it does an AoE damage to all people around you, and it also hits you. Since our healer has cooldowns running, he's not even gonna bother dispelling, but usually, like, you know, you have 2 debuffs, you only have 1 dispel. If you don't do anything else, one guy's gonna take massive damage. You notice he puts these hands out. They do some damage when they spawn, so don't stand in it, but the main mechanic here is draw soul. He'll pick 2 people and draw their soul. You want to stand in these hands because they will catch your soul, I guess, is the mechanic. If you don't stand in his hands, your soul will just like walk around aimlessly and it takes a while to pick it up. And also while you're like de-souled, I guess, you take pretty massive damage. You notice our healer is like spamming heals here, but if he didn't, we would die like in 5 seconds or so. There's only 13 too. Once you get your soul, you get a damage buff. So it's not always that bad to get picked. I wouldn't recommend playing your damage CDs around this though, because if you don't get picked, like you just wasted holding your damage cooldowns. So they get picked, they go to the hands. The first and second one are not too dangerous because there's no overlaps. However, the third one, you'll notice, so we get Parasite. Right after the Parasite is applied, he casts Draw Soul. So this one you want to, like, if you have Dwarfs or Dispels or Mass Dispel, you want to use it here. So the third one's dangerous, but the fourth one is also dangerous, so you don't use immunities here. Third one is also dangerous because there's no hands, so you actually have to play the soul mechanic as intended. You notice it kind of does a lot of damage. The priest uses cooldowns here. You'll notice that I was able to use, hold on, let me go back a sec. You'll notice that I was able to use, like it says I'm silenced, but I'm still able to use Turtle, Cheetah, and Exil, and Health Pots, so make sure you use those for the third one. Not Turtle, don't Turtle the third one. Because you need Turtle for the fourth one. This is the fourth Draw Soul coming up. So you'll notice while he's drawing soul, his next cast is going to be Phantasmal Parasite. So we're going to have a situation where the two people have their souls drawn, they walk to the hands. Also, the debuffs are going to come out, and remember this debuff does damage to people that are around it. So if he picks the two people that got drawn with the debuff, and they don't use anything, they will die. Obviously, you just save immunities here. You'll notice I have Turtle, I just Turtle. Also, you'll notice that you cannot wait for him to pick the debuff. Pick who uses the debuff on before you immune. You have to immune here because he will pick the people while you're stunned. It's actually like really dangerous. By Turtleless, Rogue doesn't cloak. I think I would have cloaked here, but I think he wants to keep his buff. So I cloak it. He doesn't even pick us for the debuff, but normally that part is super dangerous. Remember, the third one is dangerous and the fourth one is super dangerous for Draw Soul. That's the most important thing for this boss. Oops. Okay. So that's it. We finish off the boss. The fifth one is kind of like the first one. Easy. Sixth one is easy. Seventh one is like third. Eighth one is like fourth. After this boss dies, he spawns a portal here. It is a time loss to click this portal because you could just jump off and it takes way longer to like go around, but if you're not confident, you just take the portal. You can see how I jumped in the tank portal and I'm ahead of him. Not the biggest deal, but you know, every little bit counts. So once that boss is dead, this flame is active and you can just go to the top. This boss takes like forever to spawn, so if you don't have a food buff here, now is a great time. So the last boss is super easy in phase 1 because there's no overlaps. It's more like an introductory phase in my opinion. He just like shows you all of his moves. So the first one is Reaping Scythe. Basically just tank damage. It has a physical and a magical damage component, so a lot of tanks have trouble with this. You need to see we have mitigation up and it still does like almost half his health. This is a low tyrannical key too. A high tyrannical key would like kill you. Second mechanic is this Dark Devastation. He basically picks the direction of a player and then shoots a tornado, and then he like takes a random direction and turns. Obviously, don't get hit by this or you will die. This is the next move is Grasping Rift. And also he's doing Manifest Death at the same time. The first time this casts in the phase, there's always an overlap. The second time, there's no overlap. So you're getting pulled towards this thing. Spawns in a random spot. If you get hit by this, it will stun you for 8 seconds. Don't get hit. Also, we're getting pulled and there's circles around us. When these circles run out, it's going to spawn an ad. If you have AoE skills, probably save them for the ads. Use single target on the boss though. Don't single target. Yeah, that's phase 1. Nothing too crazy. Phase 2 is where it gets hard. We'll skip to phase 2. As soon as you get him to 50, he goes to phase 2. He casts his Echoes of Carnage. When this is done, he does like big damage to everyone. And he also starts doing ticking damage. But the main difficult part about this is the ghosts. So you can see these ghosts. I'm not sure how this makes sense lore-wise, but basically just fighting. But that doesn't matter. What matters is you don't stand in the swirly. If you stand in the swirly, you die. That's how it works. There's still all the phase 1 mechanics, like the tank hit. Here is going to be one of the hardest parts. He spawns these 4 cows around the room that just charge across. If they hit you, you die. And he also does Dark Devastation, which is the tornado. So if you don't have your immunities here, you have to be super careful. If you have your immunities, just put your finger on it and get ready to push it just in case. The Dark Devastation picks a random person, remember? So it could pick someone else, and then you just luck out. All you have to do is dodge the cows. But if it picks you and you have to dodge cows, usually that's an instant immune. Here, it didn't pick me. I just dodged the cows. Super easy. We have the rip plus add mechanic from phase 1. But on top of that, now you also have these ads, or quote-unquote ads, but really it's just swirlies on the ground that you have to dodge. You can imagine you're getting pulled, you're taking damage from the pull, you're taking damage from the circle exploding on you, and you also have to dodge these. So this is one of the harder parts. I think our mage cheats to this. Yeah, he does. Make sure you have like a self-heal pot or a wall there. Usually you don't have to immune. After this, he does the overlap again, I believe. Yeah, here's the overlap. The charge and the Dark Devastation. You can see it's pointed right at me. This is an insta-turtle. I turtle kind of late here, so I take 1 tick, but if I... Ideally, you turtle early. If I turtle any later, I definitely would have died. You can see the mage blocked as well. Yeah, phase 2 of this boss is really hard. I recommend saving Lust for it. We didn't Lust. We lusted on pull, but I recommend saving Lust for this phase. Here we get pulled again. Like I said, the second one of the phase, there's no overlap, so it's kind of easy. Then we get the overlap one more time, I think. No, there's no overlap. It's just Reaping Scythe plus the cows and then Dark Devastation. Okay, finish off the boss, and that's the end of the dungeon. Hope you guys found the guide useful. I tried to go over every mob. Obviously, the pulls are probably a little different than what you'll see live, but at least now you know what all the mobs do if you made it here. Thank you for watching. Get to subscribe to the channel because of these, I think, for every dungeon. Like the video. Yeah. Thank you all for watching.